Hey everyone, welcome. So glad you're here. We're going to talk about vaccines today. I'm so glad for everyone who took time out of their busy schedules today. We started a little early to let people trickle in, but I'm just all glad you're here. And we have a great lineup of info for you. It's a little meaty, so get out your notebooks, get out your pens. I got my notebook here to take some notes. But yeah, we'll get started in a minute or so. Feel free to use that questions box. I know it says questions. It's kind of just where you can put in anything. You can ask a question, of course. You can say where you're from. We would love to know where you're from. I know a couple of panelists on today. There's a big storm coming, so hopefully the weather is good to you right now. But feel free to put a shout out of where you're from in the questions box, and we'll just kind of jump right in because we're excited. I think everyone can see my screen and hear me okay. I'm just going to make sure. I'm going to put in the chat, shout out where you're from. Okay. All right. We're going to get started, folks. Okay. So welcome. That was had a first thing in my notes. We're so grateful that you're here and you're going to spend the next 60 minutes with us. My name is Marcy Gruby. I'm the Director of Integrated Sales and Marketing with Shelters United, and I'm your friendly neighborhood webinar host for today. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Making Vaccines Accessible, Impactful, and Profitable. Oh, Alicia's from Greenville, Texas. Welcome, Alicia. So glad you're here. We got someone from Phoenix. Welcome, Andrea. As you can see, oh, San Antonio. As you can see, we got people from all over. Tell us where you're from. New Hampshire, awesome, on the East Coast too. So you're in the best company because you're with animal welfare people. So let me review some things real quick before we jump into this wonderful content. St. Joseph, Michigan, welcome Robin. We got Connecticut, welcome Cheryl. Introducing the control panel first before I introduce our wonderful panelists. So on the control panel at A, you can enter full screen mode or window mode if you have, you know, some other stuff you got on your screen you want to look at. You can adjust how you hear the webinar at letter B, what audio input you're listening to. And C is the most important, and some of you have already got it. That's the questions box. And so we'd love to see your thoughts, your questions, your insights. So yeah, use that questions box to communicate with us. And if you're having some trouble, which I hope you're not, I'm going to put in a link in the chat right now. If you're having issues, and if you're having issues, please use that link to troubleshoot. And we hope you're not having issues, but just in case, we want to make sure you get the most out of your time today. Okay, why are we here today? I'd love to just give you a little bit of background from Shelters United, why we do education, especially if this is your first time here. Shelters United is the only savings marketplace and group purchasing organization, that's GPO for short, made for animal welfare groups like you alone. We partner with many pet health manufacturers to get the opportunity to connect you guys, you groups, with significant discounts from those partners. And this way, our animal welfare community saves money on thousands of products to achieve all your missions more effectively. Since 2020, we've saved groups over $11 million, which we're really proud of. And we know that saving time, money, resources is mission critical for y'all. So we offered these webinars like today to help educate y'all, rescue shelters, spay-neuter groups, foster groups, transport groups, whatever you do in animal welfare here, you're welcome. And we educate on new opportunities to save money and innovative ways to help y'all achieve your goals. So today we're doing just that, an innovation in the vaccine world with Canine Spectra and Feline Focus that empowers your organization to save money on vaccines and hopefully open access to care for your doctors and community members. So It's a lot to say. We got a lot to accomplish today, folks, so let's get started. I'm going to introduce today's speakers. We have Mark Nieblo. Mark is the marketing director at Dorvet. Mark brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, and strategic vision to the organization. He earned his animal science degree from Iowa State University and has been in the animal vaccine industry for 38 years. He joined Dorvet 23 years ago and orchestrates the licensing, private label, and contract acquisitions for vaccines. Another great speaker we have on the call is Brian Reardon. Brian is Dorvet's senior private label brand manager, and he navigates the realm of brand management, brand development and management in the animal health industry. He's been with Dorvet for 6 years, bringing an expansive animal health experience of 24 years overall. And with a focus on the market, brand differentiation, and collaboration, he drives growth for Dorvet branded private label portfolio. And last but certainly not least is David Wasserman. He's a member consultant here with me at Shelters United, and David has a diverse background in veterinary practice management with software sales. He's passionate about animal rescue. You'll see a picture of his rescue dog later. She's adorable. And as a lifelong rescue pet parent, he actively promotes pet adoption. He also advocates for mental health awareness, drawing from his psychology degree. Through David's work and advocacy, he strives to make positive impact in both the professional and personal spheres, leveraging his skills and passions for meaningful change. So Mark will be speaking first about Canine Spectra and Feline Focus vaccine specifics. Plus, he'll be sharing some free tools you can find online. And I also encourage you to stay for David's piece after that, as he'll kind of be putting all the pieces together in how these vaccines can make life easier for y'all and expand access to care for fosters, adopters, your community, and your organization as well. So, quick question time. So I call these spark questions to spark some conversation. And again, if you want to use the questions box to answer these, that would be awesome, because I'd love to see where you're at in this kind of realm of community outreach. So the first question is, are you considering doing any community outreach programs, or have you always and ever wanted to try them? And if you could, what would you do? If you already do them, and you're already kind of on the road to them, what would be your top tip that we can pass along to other colleagues here today? If someone was just starting out, what would be your top tip to start out? Or what's like a secret hack that you discovered if you do vaccine outreach that you can share? And as you guys think about that, I see Teresa says yes. Awesome, Teresa, I'm glad you're here. I hope we can help inspire you for some new programs. But if you want to think about those questions, put them in the questions box. We can get to them in that discussion during Q&A time. I see Trish says we have done one, and Trish is trying to get vaccines to do more. Awesome, free vaccines to do more. Wonderful. So we're all glad you're here. I'm going to invite Mark. I was trying to say that all in one word. I would love to invite Mark to come on. I'm going to pass presentership over to Mark right now. If he wants to come on.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, there he is. There's Mark. The storm hasn't kicked you off yet, thank goodness.
Not yet. So
okay.
We're in Kansas City, where I'm coming to you from, and we've got thunderstorms rolling through here right now. So you know our area, we can get some pretty bad storms this time of year. So
no problem. So far, so good. Okay, so I just passed you presentership. If you want to turn your screen on, sir, and we can get started with all the good meat potatoes. All right. I'm going to go away for a while, but I will return after Mark's wonderful content. So take it away.
Great. So Stacy, you can see my screen, I'm assuming. So everything looks good.
It all looks great.
No. Well, welcome everyone. We're excited to be here today. Not only myself and Brian Reardon on this call. We have two veterinarians that work with our company. Also on the call, Dr. Rich Markham and Dr. Katie Nordis are both on the call. They're here if any of you have any clinical questions at the end. If you have any disease questions that you want veterinarian to talk about any of the product questions. Brian and I can handle, but we do have two veterinarians on the call to answer any questions you might have that might get a little more technical than our marketing presentations get. But what we want to talk to you about today is an opportunity that you have through Shelters United in a partnership with MWI to provide vaccines for your pets that are adopted or people that are fostering pets to give them some protection for those animals. Top quality vaccines for protection against major diseases. Canine Spectra and Feline Focus, and peak marketing is part of Duravet, so we're going to talk about Duravet mostly, but you'll see the vaccines, I'll say peak marketing on them. So the my pointer isn't going correctly. There we go. So the most complete selection of single-dose vaccines on the market today, and there's something. What's important about this is you're adopting out or people take one or two dogs. This is a great opportunity to get product to them in something other than a 25 dose tray. Single dose vaccines are approved by USDA for sale in individual units. And what makes that important is that each package of product, each dose has complete instructions for use. It has the vaccines, and it also has a syringe for use for administering the vaccine. The ways that the laws are written right now and the way that the government, which USDA regulates vaccines, looks at it is the final package of a vaccine for animals has to be broken by either a veterinarian or the end user. So if you're doing a 25 dose tray, the only person that can break that tray and use it individual is somebody that's buying a bulk pack that has a large number of animals or a veterinarian. So when you put the use directions on the package, that makes it so that you can go ahead and sell those as individual units. And it actually just makes it a lot easier too. So these products are ideal for new pet parents going out the door, those fostering pets. It's a great way for you to have an assurance that the boosters are actually given once you get out their door, because it's important to get a series of shots. Whether they're adult animals, they get a shot or a booster shot, or puppies where they get a series of shots. We do not discourage going to veterinary clinics. So I think it's very important for animals to go see a veterinarian. You get wellness checks, but it's very difficult sometimes to get an appointment to get into the veterinarian. And if that's going to be the case, or if somebody you don't think they're going to go to the veterinarian and they need to be protected, you don't want them calling you back saying their animals are sick, this is a good way to make sure that they can get their booster shots out there. Like I said, these products are available to you through MWI. That does help support Shelters United. If you're not a GPO member, you can reach out to Marcy or David afterwards, and they can help get you signed up. Anyway, our base products that we have, and we have a number of them, we're going to talk about all of them and where they fit before the presentation is over. We have Canine Spectra 5, Canine Spectra 6, Canine Spectra 9, Canine Spectra 10, and then for cats, Feline Focus 3. And those are our base products that we have. We also have some premium combinations, and we'll talk about where they fit in. But we also have Feline Focus 3 plus leukemia, and I'll talk about leukemia in the presentation, the importance of vaccinating against feline leukemia. We also have a Bordetella, intranasal Bordetella shot, Canine KC3, which protects against Bordetella, but it also has parainfluenza and adenovirus type 2 in it. And then also our biggest combination is Canine Spectra 10 plus Lyme. I'm going to talk about Lyme disease and tick-borne diseases in the presentation later, also to give you some reasons for using that boostering of that combination. Our vaccines, Spectra vaccines for dogs, we have them contract manufactured for us. They're manufactured by Elanco. If you go to the veterinary clinic, it's the same products that the veterinarians give under the TrueCan label. Formerly, they were part of Fort Dodge Animal Health. If you go back that far, you use Duramune, but these are the exact same products from manufactured at that facility, and that is the license number that's attached to these products. The differentiation I talked about is that they are available in single dose packaging, so for you to make it easier to sell. The base shot that we have, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with your 5-way shots, but we have a 5-way combination shot. It's the ideal shot for puppies, and the protection that it gives in puppies is distemper, adenovirus type 1, which is hepatitis, adenovirus type 2, parainfluenza, and parvovirus. I want to point out a little bit when you look at these vaccine labels, no matter whether it's this one or any of them, and you start reading the numbers of antigens, you'll usually only read on their adenovirus type 2 on the antigens, but then when it talks about protection, it talks about hepatitis also. Vaccines years ago used to have hepatitis in them, but they took them out just because of safety concerns. So they're very closely related. If you vaccinate against adenovirus type 2, you will also get protection against adenovirus type 1. So five antigens of protection in the Spectra 5 vaccine. This is the most updated vaccine that you can get. Years ago, when they first started protecting against parvo in puppies, they used a feline, what they call feline origin parvo, but then they've all changed to canine, and the parvos have changed over time. This product contains canine parvovirus 2B, which is the most predominant one in vaccines. It protects against all strains of parvo, including one of the newest strains out there, CPV type 2C. There is equal numbers of protection against all the strains of parvo that are out there in the field. A premium shot that we have for puppies is Canine Spectra 6. It provides 6-way protection. This was originally introduced in the market in the veterinary channel years ago, and it was patented as the puppy shot. So if you go back long enough, you've heard about the puppy shot and the puppy shot booster. This is the original puppy shot. It contains those 5 antigens that we talked about earlier, but also it adds protection against coronavirus. Coronavirus by itself is really not that dangerous a disease, but in combination with parvo, if a puppy catches parvo and has coronavirus, it makes it much more difficult to get that animal to recover. So we recommend just adding that extra insurance against coronavirus, because those parvo and corona together can create some major problems in puppies. 9-way protection we have the Canine Spectra 9. It does not contain coronavirus, but added to protection is the 4 serovars, and instead of, this same as a strain, lepto is referred to as serovars, 4 serovars of lepto protection. And I will touch a little bit later also on the need for 4 serovars of lepto. A lot of the vaccines that are being used out there, some of them from an economic standpoint for boosters only have 2 serovars. The 7-way vaccines do not give the adequate protection that you need against lepto. 10-way vaccine, again, provides everything in the 5-way base that we had, plus the lepto protection, and then also coronavirus. And then our most comprehensive, our best combination that we have is Canine Spectra 10 plus Lyme. Again, provides protection against those 5, base protection against the 5 viruses, plus the 4 serovars of lepto, also coronavirus. And in addition to that, it protects against Lyme, Borrelia burgdorferi. Try pronouncing that one several times. It takes some practice. That is it's carried by ticks, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. But that is referred to as Lyme disease. Canine Spectra and Feline Focus vaccines we all carry a guaranteed for potency, for efficacy, and safety. These vaccines are all monitored. They're all licensed by USDA. USDA does all of the licensing and releasing of vaccine serials, no matter which manufacturer is making the products, whether it's us, Zoetis, whether it's Merck, anybody, they all have to adhere to the same standards. There's no vaccine that's released for sale to the market for use by either a veterinarian or the pet owner unless it's released by the federal government. So that's one thing that's different on vaccines and pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals can be put into the market and then the government can go back and test at a later time. They find problems, they do a recall. Vaccines do not ever get released for use in any species in the animal industry unless the federal government releases and reviews the testing. So all these vaccines are all, you can be assured that these vaccines are the best quality you can get. There's no such thing as a generic vaccine. I talked earlier about the importance of lepto and having 4 strains of lepto rather than 2. And this is not marketing material. What I've pulled up here, this is off the American Animal Hospital Association website, their vaccine recommendations, and you can pull this up online. This is readily available. But when they talk about lepto and the need to protect against lepto, they do recommend against these 4 serobars of lepto. And the reason that they do is because in recent years, the predominant isolates in dogs are now Gripotyphosa and Pomona. And those are the 2 new ones that are not available in the 7-way vaccines. The 7-ways only contain Canicola and Icterohemorrhagiae. And those serobars are not isolated as much as they used to be. They're still in the vaccines, but if you want to protect animals, most of the isolates that are out there now are those 2 new ones. So it's important to use vaccines that have all 4 serobars of lepto in them. 2 doses are needed, just like on any vaccine. When you're using it the first time around in adult animals, you need 2 doses, primer dose and booster dose. And where animals are at risk of exposure, administer a single dose every year. We get questions a lot, and I'm sure that veterinarians get questions a lot too, is that my dog doesn't go outside. He's an indoor dog. Do I need to protect him against lepto? Lepto is spread in the environment. If your animal's outside, I live in town and I have a dog and it goes outside, and we have raccoons, we have deer, we have wildlife that goes through at night, and if they have urinated in water somewhere, that's how they pick up lepto. So even town dogs can get lepto, so it's important to protect against lepto. In our Lyme vaccine, we have the Borrelia burgdorferi. This is also again off the American Animal Health Association, or I'm sorry, the core vaccine practices. They recommend for vaccine use that there's 4 types of vaccines out there. The one that we have in it contains all the capsule proteins that are deemed necessary for protection against Lyme disease. This is the original vaccine that was put out there. It was patented a number of years ago by Fort Dodge. When the patent came off, other companies started to make Lyme vaccine. But again, this one contains everything needed for full protection against Lyme disease in dogs. 2 initial doses, 2 to 4 weeks apart, followed by a annual booster. And that's what I'm circling there. What I'm sharing next, there is a website I encourage all of you to take a look at. It's called the Companion Animal Parasite Council, and they have a website. It's capcvet.org, and it tracks every year the incidence of positive tests for different diseases in dogs and cats. And so what I'm showing here is Lyme disease. And Lyme disease, you can go on that, and as the year goes on, they start showing, how heavy Lyme disease infections are based upon tests that are coming into the laboratories. This was 2022, and you can see the darker it is, the more incidence of Lyme that's being picked up in dogs. And the north, the northeast have always been areas that are bad with Lyme disease. They have ticks, they bite the dogs. They then develop antibodies against Lyme disease can be picked up and tested at the veterinary clinic. These are the same ticks that bite humans. So if you know anybody that's had Lyme disease, it's the same ticks. If your dog brings in a tick that's infected, it can bite them, infect them, and it can also bite you and infect you. I want to show this because I went back, and this is 2022, and we had a drought year last year in a lot of part of the country, so there wasn't a lot of tick-borne diseases out there. But if you go back to 2012, what is showing right here, it was a wetter year, and there was, except for Texas, that's Arkansas and Kansas, there was not a lot of, but the rest of the country did have a lot of positive tests that come out. Black-legged ticks in the Northeast, the Western black-legged tick along the Pacific coast are the primary carriers of Lyme disease. So wherever they're at, that's where you're going to see this disease in animals. I just pulled this a couple weeks ago. This is in one of the industry reports that came out, and this is the same organization that I showed the charts on just now, the Companion Animal Parasite Council. They've put a warning out for 2024 that it's going to be one of the worst years in a long time for tick-borne disease, which heartworm, which we're not going to talk about today, and Lyme disease. That these diseases have been spreading over the last 12 years, and they expect it to be one of the worst years that they've had in a while. So not only is it important to vaccinate where you can if you think there's a problem, but make sure that people are using adequate flea and tick control, and using a product that does control ticks will go a long ways towards help keeping your pets safe. One other product we have, if anybody that boards or they have a larger number of animals around, kennel cough can be real annoying. It's not fatal by any means, but it is annoying. And if you go to board your pet, they do require that you have a kennel cough vaccine in them. We provide a intranasal product. Again, I talked about earlier, it's Spectra KC3. It's the broadest protection you can get, Bordetella, parainfluenza, and adenovirus type 2. This product is not injected. This product actually comes in a bag. In addition to the syringe, it has a cannula that you switch out. You rehydrate the vaccine, then you take off the needle and you put on a cannula, and you actually put it in the animal's nose. It gives mucosal protection against heat diseases, and it's very quick. That's when you put it in the nose, it's very quick immunity. So this is the one product that we have that is not injected. It's actually given intranasally. Again, vaccines not to be injected. It's right on the label instructions on how to give it. Again, all these products have complete directions on the label. If you buy a box of product, the side of the box has all the vaccination schedules and the different products with the antigens in it right on the side. So in review, the products, Canine Spectra 5, Spectra 6, 6 adds Corona. 9 is the 5-way plus the lepto protection. The 10 has the 5-way plus Corona and lepto protection. The 10 protects against everything, including Lyme disease, and our intranasal vaccine is something separate, but it protects against canine kennel cough and adenovirus type 2 parainfluenza and Bordetella. Vaccination schedules and protection charts are on every display, and recommended vaccination schedules are also on our materials, and they're available on vaccination records that are going to be available to you at no charge, as well as on our website. And it's important that people understand the need for repeated vaccinations in puppies. When a puppy or any animal is born, it gets its first protection against diseases against its mother, either in colostrum, which is the first milk, or through the placenta. And the animals get different levels of protection based upon how much colostrum they get, just the immunity level of the mother, so it can vary. So when a puppy's born, if it's one of the first ones, and the mother has a lot of antibody in the colostrum, it can get really high levels of antibody, and that antibody may not wear off in that puppy until it's up to 18 weeks of age. So that puppy is protected until 18 weeks of age, and that's good for that puppy. But the bad thing is if you give a vaccine before 18 weeks of age, those antibodies don't know the difference between the natural infection and the protection provided by the mother. So the vaccine will be neutralized by those antibodies they got from mother. So a puppy that's born late doesn't get much colostrum, or the mother did not have good immunity, it may be able to get protection at 6 weeks or 9 weeks of age. So those puppies actually will be protected from the vaccine earlier. The problem is we do not know without testing those animals what their maternal antibody levels are. So that's why we recommend repeated vaccines. If somebody comes back to you with a puppy and go, hey, you said I got a vaccine at 5 weeks, I boosted it right away, and then at 15 weeks it's got parvo, what went wrong? Well, the answer is that puppy had high levels of maternal antibody, and that's the reason why they need to give repeated vaccinations. So they try to hit that window in all those puppies the best way possible to protect them against natural disease. And then again, we recommend annual boosters. Historically, that's been recommended because a lot of these products, we do not know how long immunity lasts. So for best protection, annual boosters are recommended. For cats, a little simpler for cats, not as many products. Base protection in cats, feline CatVax 3, protection against rhinotracheitis, calicium, panleukopenia. So you're getting your base protection in those cats. That's the product that's been out there for quite some time. The newest one that's out there that we have, and the most complete protection we have is 3-way protection plus the feline leukemia virus. Importance of feline leukemia. Again, American Animal Hospital Association core vaccine practices, the recommendation that they're giving to veterinarians for vaccination. They do recommend that cats with high exposure, living with other cats with feline leukemia, unknown status, indoors or outdoors, feline leukemia is considered a core vaccine. And they're also recommending it for any cat that is under a year of age. It's recommended that they get that protection just so that they do not get the disease. Feline leukemia is a very nasty disease. If you've ever seen a cat that has it, they waste away over time. They used to call it, they refer to it as feline AIDS when I first started in the business, but it does attack the immune system, and it's a long drawn out process. So it's just better to protect them, and they're recommending that you vaccinate all kittens against it now. Again, core vaccine for kittens and young adult cats under a year of age. You can track this one also on that same website I gave you earlier, CAP, Companion Animal Parasite Council, vet.org. This was 2022, and you can see the incidence of FELV. The darker, the higher the incidence was. So it was isolated pretty much everywhere across the country last year. Feline Focus Protection Guide, again, Feline Focus 3, rhinotracheitis, calicium, panleukopenia. Then the 3 plus FELV adds feline leukemia protection. Vaccination schedules, protection charts on every display card. Recommended vaccination schedule again, because we don't know the immune status of those kittens. 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, followed by annual boosters. We do have available, and you can get these. You can get a hold of Marcy, and we can get them to her, or MWI also stocks these. We have free records that you can get and give out. It gives them a way of tracking their deworming, gives them a way of tracking their vaccination. All of our products have peel-off labels, so you can put it off here and keep track of it. On here, you can see the right-hand chart. There's spots on there where you can peel the labels off the vaccine, and that has the lot number and the expiration date. It's proof of vaccination that can be used, and you can write a date on there. So they can have a record as you give these out. If you vaccinate before they go out, you can use it, and then you can also send this home, and they can keep track at home of their record of vaccination for those dogs or kittens. Use it when they go to the veterinarian to show them what they've done. If they go to be boarded somewhere, it can also be a good proof of the canine kennel cough products. So we do have a website, and our website contains a lot of the information that I just showed you. Plus, there's videos on there. I'm going to show you the video that comes off that site. If you go to vaccinateyurpets.com, we keep this updated with all information on these vaccines. It's for your use, and there's no login needed or anything, but it is available for you. Again, helpful how-to videos. So I'm going to go, and hopefully this works. I'm going to play a video. Marcy, you're going to have to tell me if this is working or not, if you'll pop on here. Can you see the Canine Spectra vaccine proven protection?
I can see it.
Great.
It's hard to hear though.
And that's what
Unfortunately.
delivers. Spectra vaccines are USDA
There we go.
purity, potency, safety, and efficacy to keep your dog healthy and safe. With Spectra on your side, you can rest easy knowing that you're doing your very best. Start vaccinations as early as 6 weeks of age with Canine Spectra 6. 3 weeks later, give your puppy a booster of Canine Spectra 10 Plus Lyme, and then every 3 weeks to the age of 18 weeks to give your puppy the ultimate protection. If you're unsure of your puppy's vaccination status or your puppy's missed a shot, begin with Canine Spectra 10 Plus Lyme and give 3 additional booster shots spaced 3 weeks apart. For puppies over 18 weeks, give them 2 doses of Canine Spectra 10 Plus Lyme, also spaced 3 weeks apart. Spectra KC3 for kennel cough can be administered anytime after 8 weeks of age. Spectra KC3 also includes a special applicator tip for administering intranasally. Annual boosters of Spectra 10 Plus Lyme and Spectra KC3 are recommended to ensure your dog's continued protection. Open the plastic bag. Inside, you'll find a syringe and 2 vials. One vial contains a liquid and the other a dry cake. Remove the outer protective cover over the syringe by applying firm pressure until the outer cap pops off. Before removing the cover over the needle, make sure the needle is tight by twisting it clockwise. Remove the protective cover on the needle and draw air into the syringe by pulling back the plunger to about the 1 milliliter line. Start with the vial containing the liquid. Then push the needle through the rubber stopper and depress the plunger to help equalize pressure in the vial. Next, holding the vial up, pull back on the plunger to draw the liquid into the syringe. For now, don't worry if there's a little air in the syringe. Next, insert the needle through the rubber stopper of the dry cake vial. Holding the syringe and vial vertically, transfer the liquid into the vial by pushing in the plunger. Gently shake the vial to mix the 2 ingredients until the dry cake is dissolved. Draw the mixture back into the syringe, making sure to pull in most of the liquid. Remove the syringe and holding the needle pointing up, push the plunger slowly to remove the air until you see a drop of the mixture at the end of the needle. After you prepare the vaccine, use it immediately. At this point, you may need a friend or family member to help calm your pet and hold its head steady. The injection will be given in the loose skin around the rear of the dog's neck or shoulder. First, remove the cap from the needle before preparing the injection site with a cotton ball and rubbing alcohol. Gently grasp and elevate a fold of loose skin and insert the needle just under the skin. Pull back the plunger slightly to make sure you don't draw up any blood. If you do, it indicates you're in a blood vessel and you need to remove and reposition the needle. Begin the injection. If the vaccine doesn't inject easily, the needle may be in the skin and not below the skin. Reposition the needle and finish injecting the vaccine. Recap the needle and dispose of the syringe properly. If you have any questions about protecting your pets with Spectra vaccines or how to prepare and use Spectra, please contact us at 800-821-5570. To find a store near you, visit vaccinateyourpets.com.
Great. Again, that phone number, and we have somebody all day long that can answer the phones. If you call that 800 number, you get right into our office here. We do not have automated attendance. So if you have questions, we have somebody here. We can get any questions out to Dr. Markham or Dr. Nordis. If there's veterinary questions, we also have veterinary technicians here in-house that can help. So encourage you to use that 800 number. If you have any questions, go to vaccinateyourpets.com. This video is on there. If you're on YouTube, you can also get these videos off YouTube. So DerVet has a YouTube channel that has all these videos on there also. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Marcy, and she can get the next presenter on. So.
Absolutely. So that's the customer question phone number right there, 800-821-5570. I think it's wonderful that you all have someone to help 20%. That's wonderful. So I'm going to invite David on. Turn your camera on, Mr. Darwood.
As soon as it goes there. Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello. All right. So David is going to chit chat and bring us all of these, heard all the ideas or heard all the cat ideas together and give us the big picture on everything on access to care in our community. So take it away, David.
Absolutely. So thank you, Marcy, for that introduction there. And once again, thank you so much, Mark, for that fantastic overview of these awesome vaccines. I think it's really important to understand these technical details and the science behind these vaccines. I think our audience, the folks in the shelters, foster groups, all of animal welfare, they're very often tasked with educating the pet parents and the local families. And really, if we don't do it, who will? So with that being said, I think the audience would agree, education on the technical details is extremely important, but we're still missing a few details, as Marcy alluded to. And in my opinion, most importantly is why. Why are these great vaccines and single-use options so relevant to my organization in particular? And really, where does it become relevant to me? So a bit of background, before coming to work for Shelters United, I spent a little over 10 years in the veterinary industry, as Marcy mentioned earlier. I started, as a kennel technician at the age of 18, the earliest age that I could be hired, and I ended as a practice manager. And so in that time, I worked with everything from those large corporate consolidator practices all the way down to the small family-owned clinics and everything in between. In that time, I experienced firsthand the epidemic, for lack of a better word, that the animal welfare industry is currently struggling with. And what that comes down to, in my opinion, is a couple of things. So first off, oversaturation in shelters and rescues. I mean, we've all experienced that firsthand. It's why a lot of us do what we do. And what that kind of results in is a high burnout rate for the veterinary professionals, the shelter managers, the shelter workers, the foster caretakers, everyone, all the same, high burnout. More recently, a huge problem has been the general lack of availability for wellness appointments and what are considered non-urgent procedures. I mean, in the peak of COVID, when everything first started, we were instructed by the government to stop all non-emergent procedures. If it's not a foreign body surgery, get it out of here. So, the result now is, in my area alone, we're playing a lot of catch up, and these new puppy appointments, these new clients, they're being pushed out for weeks on end. And I mean, what are you supposed to do in the meantime? You adopt your new best friend and you're told, get him straight to the vet, get him checked out. But you're told by the receptionist, the CSR, no, sorry, wait 3 weeks, wait 4 weeks before we can even get you in. So these are a couple of challenges that I think each of us face. And honestly, I bet that every audience member on this call could easily name 10 more that I missed. And so the question then becomes, how do we handle it? Well, in my opinion, our members are already doing a really great job at facing these challenges. So, we want to make it easier. For one, educational resources like this webinar here today. We want to help pet parents administer an affordable distemper booster and also understand the adverse risks and reactions. So I know our fantastic presenters today talked very extensively about this. I really encourage you to take these resources with you. I mean, quite honestly, I know the audio is a little bit messy there, but that vaccine tutorial of how to booster a pet, that's pretty spot on for what I teach the techs back when I was in practice. And it's important to foster these positive relationships within your community because as you educate new pet parents, you help them provide quality care for their new fur baby. You're now standing out from the other local rescue groups. You're going above and beyond. So this really helps to maintain a positive relationship post-adoption, and it really encourages repeat adopters over the years. Again, going back to that oversaturation, I mean, we have to handle it by adopting the pets. So options like these single-use vaccines, they support the pet parents, they keep the families together, and they avoid returns to a shelter due to financial burdens. Absolute worst case scenario, the worst thing that any of us working in shelter want to hear is return to a shelter because that just puts us back at square one and leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And so you, everyone on this call today, you can provide quality care for these pets through pet parent education and encouraging vaccine compliance. It becomes especially relevant when you take into consideration the average wait times for a first-time vet visit that I was talking about before. And when you adopt a pet out and provide these single-use vaccines, it does something really cool where the new pet parent already has the vaccine in hand. Those resources, that money, it's already been allocated, so they're really encouraged to get their pet boosted. It again avoids that situation where you adopt a pet out and you have no idea what happens afterwards. So when you purchase these vaccines directly through a company like Durvet, along with Shelters United discounts, suddenly you're able to hit a price point which is just leaps and bounds better than your local veterinary clinic. And then from there, you can bake these costs into the price of adoption, something I think everyone's, pretty used to if you charge any sort of fee or even if not. And then you're guaranteeing quality care for the pet. And you're not breaking the bank for anyone involved, whether it's you, the pet parent, anyone. And so the result is you're still encouraging new pet parents to establish that veterinary client patient relationship as soon as possible, but you're taking the extra precaution to assure vaccine compliance because you're being aware of, the 3-4 week turnaround to get that vet visit. Not everyone is like us who has a veterinarian on speed dial. So on top of that, when you compare like an approximately $7 vaccine booster here to the $40, $50 markup at your local vet that I know all of you have seen, new pet parents are just overjoyed with these sort of savings. It really starts the adoption out on the right foot. And seriously, we all know who these people are, your neighbors, your friends of friends, all the people who come asking you for help, even that one local person from your book club that keeps coming up to you every time you're there, the people that see us as, we might as well be veterinarians because we have this knowledge and they just keep coming to us asking those answers. And you can help these exact people. So really, I encourage you, drop the first name of someone you want to help in chat. Let's talk about it here today. Let's really start making an action to help these people who are struggling. And to take it one step further, talking to larger groups right now, vaccine clinics, wellness days, these local events that really encourage vaccine compliance and help pet parents that are otherwise struggling. So with a little bit of planning, this becomes even a potential revenue generating tool. It helps you impact more pets in need of care, which again is what we're all trying to do at the end of the day. So with all that being said, I think it'd be really valuable to pull up a couple of examples of those events and sorts of things. Marcy's already on it, as you can see here. So talking through this first one, you can see this is an event for a vaccine clinic. Very, really kind of awesome detail that I really want to point out is in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that it's bilingual. It's in Spanish as well as English, very heavily focusing on your local demographic, the people that you're really trying to help. And here you can see the price points for these vaccines. They're quite reasonable, highlighting that basic DA2PP distemper at only $25. Again, comparing that to a $40 or $50 markup at your local vet really starts to become reasonable in that situation. And I think that kind of covers it for that one. I mean, I think it's just a good kind of brainstorming session. So moving on to the second one here, a little bit more colorful. I mean, I am absolutely in love with whoever found that little cat there and the puppy. But you can see here again, very prominently displaying a local vaccine clinic, bright and colorful, really standing out to people, displaying those prices right there. Distemper vaccine at $18. When you're buying it for $7, that's not too hard to make work. And you can even start to include things like microchips, other options that really kind of go the extra mile and cover some of those bases that we know those new pet parents are going to need to, but might be unable to due to financial constraints. And yeah, so really kind of with all that being said, if you have no idea where to start, you don't have any idea how to go about any of this, well, we found this really awesome tool. It's an HASS budget calculator, and I think it's a fantastic place to begin. Marcy pulled it up here. We'll link it in the chat as well. This really is like for those of you who have never started budgeting for anything with your shelter, maybe you're just a small foster group, maybe you're leaning in to the larger vaccine clinics and wellness days. This is a really good place to start. Get an idea of what it would actually cost you, how to make those margins, either at cost or profitable. And so, with all that being said, I think we can all agree that absolutely none of us are working or volunteering in animal welfare for the money. That would be crazy. We're all here because we're passionate about the pets. And we all see importance in an industry which is so often undervalued or overlooked. So education is the first step in helping our work go further. Education for us so we can better teach these folks that are adopting, but also education for the new pet parents. So if any of you would like to talk about what all of that means, the HASS calculator, the daily kind of events, what that means for your group in particular, even just these vaccines, please feel free to reach out to me anytime, contact me directly. Marcy did a great job of including my email address on the slide here. You've got my calendar linked directly on there. I'm clearly very passionate about this stuff, and I'm very happy to talk about what it looks like for your group in particular. And with all that, thank you so much to Dervet, my colleagues here at Shelters United, Marcy, who's back on here, for making this awesome webinar possible. Thank you to everyone who's attended and each of you who make it your passion to help pets. And I'm going to let Marcy take it away from here.
Awesome. Thank you, David, for herding all the cats together. Sorry for the pun. If you're in animal welfare, pet puns. We love them. So just to wrap it up, thank you all for being here. We have just a short Q&A coming up, but I just wanted to remind everyone to fill out that exit survey. So when you leave the webinar, you should have the exit survey pop up. We have a couple of questions. We always love your ideas for webinars in the future. But if you want to get started in the GPO, if you're interested, if you want to connect with David, it's all available there, and we will connect with you whatever your needs are from the exit survey. So yeah, and just a quick, when you join the GPO, we have a lot of members on this call, but if you're not a member yet, you get exclusive discounts like Dervet. You get access to friendly experts and friendly folks like David, who's so wonderful to work with. It's free to join. And we have a lot of fun, exciting things coming up, and we'll be at Animal Care Expo. So I saw someone said they're from San Antonio. We'll be in San Antonio next month, so we come by our booth. We'd love to see you. Just look for pink. But with that, It's time for Q&A. I'm going to invite everyone to turn on their cameras and microphones and come back. And we'll see.
Hey, again.
Ned, yeah, you were just here, David. Wonderful.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah,
I feel shame not to wear pink after you just mentioned
yeah,
that.
right? Should have worn pink. But yeah, we'd love to answer some questions. We got some good ones. I know we had some questions that were sent in. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see faces instead. We had some questions that were sent in before. So I'm going to get to those and then we'll hop on and we'll do questions for the next 5 to 7 minutes. But again, if you have any questions on an exit survey and you need to bolt, totally understand. We want to respect your time and we want to thank you for being here. One question is for, foster-based groups. Someone asked and emailed in that they didn't know exactly like how a single dose could like make fostering easier. So what would they do for that? So I just wanted to put that out there for ideas on how single dose and sending them home with fosters and any feedback, Mark, Brian, or David, that you would have on that.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one. Brian, if you want to jump in, or Dr. Norders or Dr. Markham, but single dose if they're fostering, I mean, even those animals are being fostered out, if you don't know the vaccination schedule, and if they are vaccinated coming in and then they're being fostered out somewhere, those animals still will need boosted if they do not know the vaccination status of those animals. So I think it's important if they want to protect them properly, that's one of the basics of care, I think, is make sure that they're vaccinated properly. So even if they're an adult being put out somewhere, I think it's important that they're not dealing with a sick animal. If they get out and get exposed to something, that they're going to be dealing with the sick animal. So that's a place for that product too. So not only being adopted to protect it for long term, but if it's being fostered too, to make sure that animal doesn't get sick when it's in their care.
Right.
And I think one way it becomes especially relevant for our members is a lot of these groups, especially when you're talking about foster groups, it's not like they're going to order a tray of 50 or 25 or even 100 vaccines all to one location and administer them all in the same location. That's just not feasible. It's not an option for those groups that are spread across an entire state or even the ones that go across state lines. So being able to use just that single use option really becomes relevant for those groups in particular. And yeah, I mean, I can't tell you working in clinic how many times people would get to us for that, that visit several weeks after adoption and just be like, oh, I had no idea I was supposed to booster. Oh, I had no idea that there was a schedule. Like it really, having this conversation at the time of adoption with these vaccines goes a long way.
Yeah. And I think for me, it sums it up in really 2 words. It's accessibility and it's compliance. And I think if you have both of those, they both go up. So, yeah, I mean, you make it more accessible to these folks. I mean, hey, we all have very busy lives. We've got a lot of things going on, as Mark mentioned. Sometimes getting a vet appointment may be difficult, matching up schedules and availabilities, but this helps reassure that that animal will get a very, very important vaccination at the right time.
I'll just add to that.
If I could,
I'm a dog owner. I mean, Brian laughs. He knows I have a dog that I'm very have a lot of affection for. He's just a little multi-poo. He's 6 years old and he's due for his vaccination in May. And I started to get reminders from the veterinary clinic to get it scheduled to go in for his wellness exam. And they have an online scheduling that you have to go through. And I have not been able to find an appointment in the next 30 days where I can get him in. And I'm an established customer. I'm going to get him in after he's due for his shots. So,
Dr. Nordis, were you chiming in there?
yes, I was. I'm sorry you can only hear me, but
Okay. What did you hear?
so I think it's important if you're sending out a puppy from a shelter and handing them one booster vaccine, it's a perfect time to be able to educate the owner about further vaccines needed, and not just that one, but hey, this puppy will need boosters until they're 18 weeks of age. So I think it's a good opportunity as veterinarians and volunteers at shelters to be able to open that line of communication and letting people know that, yeah, it's going to take more than 1 shot or 2 shots. There is going to be a whole line of boosters needed until they're of age. So for adult animals getting adopted out, yes, it's also important to be able to get them the vaccines they need if they can't get to a vet. So does that make sense?
Yes. And for those for those temporary caretakers, I think it would be a big advantage to have a health record go with that puppy to a permanent home. So,
Or 2.
Very good. Yeah. And again, vaccinateyyourpets.com. You can find options for those. You can order them on MWI if you want them, and we can find them for you and send you the link.
On vaccinateyyourpets.com, there's also a downloadable
Okay.
record they can download and print out and use. So there's all kinds of options for record keeping that they have.
We love free downloads. I have a question about FIV from Heather. Hey, Heather. She says, I did not think there was a good vaccine available for feline immune virus, or do you have a vaccine for FIV?
We do not have one, but I'm going to let Dr. Markham or Dr. Nordis chime in on that because it's a disease and I want them to talk about it. There is nothing available in a single dose that's available outside the veterinary clinic. So, Katie or Rich, do you want to jump in on that? Yeah.
Sure. So as a veterinarian, I never vaccinated for FIV. Our main focus was feline leukemia. And even FIP was kind of frowned upon for various reasons, but I just don't have a lot of experience with FIV vaccines, and I know there's a reason, but I don't have it right in front of me right now. So give me a second. And Dr. Markham, if you have an answer, that'd be awesome.
well, those vaccines they don't have a good history, but they're the best we have at this time. So
That's a good question.
If there's a way that I can get the answer to you, I want people to know, like FIV, I'll do some research, and if I can get that information to you guys, I sure will.
Yeah, no, Heather, I know you're still on. Anyone who asked a question, or if we're getting up on time a little bit, we'll get those questions answered and send them and email them back to you. So yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay.
If you want to find different resources for Heather, we'll connect with Heather and make sure that Heather gets everything. So Heather, we're getting in touch with you. Another question, this one's from Donna. How important is it to vaccinate for chlamydia in felines? It's a 4-way we currently use, but it looks like as if no one else does this.
That's also one that I never vaccinated for, and I did see it I think in shelter situations where there's high populations of cats, but I don't, in general practice, that's not one that is normally, it's not a core vaccine.
Yeah, we had an opportunity when we put this line together to have chlamydia psittaci in that have a 4-way plus leukemia, and the incidence of it wasn't that high, and the cost that it added to the vaccine was significant. So that's the reason we could put it in. There's one available, but it just wasn't worth the extra money to make it available. And that was our thought anyway on it. So Brian and I did put that together and we got that option. So
I agree.
Got it. And then Heather asked a clarifying question. She said she heard leukemia referred to as feline AIDS, but she thought they were 2 different diseases with FIV, thinking that feline AIDS was FIV, not the other one you said, Mark. Is that correct?
that could be correct. And I'll let Dr. Markham or Dr. Nordis on that one. I could have misspoke on that one, so I apologize if I did. So
I'm sorry, would
Go
you
ahead.
repeat it?
What they, Dr. Rich, what they used to refer to as feline AIDS years ago when it first came out.
It is FIV. Yeah.
FIV, yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, perfect.
But feline leukemia does completely destroy their immune system because it affects their bone marrow. So still is an immune system problem.
Okay.
Well, we've got some very detailed listeners. That's
Yes, we
great.
do. I know. Hey, our folks, they ask great questions because
Great.
they're in the thick of it all the time. And then we had one that was emailed in. This will be our last one, everyone. So if you need to hop off, totally understand. And again, if you want to pop in a question or if you want to get in touch with David and have a question, we're happy to send them to Dr. Nordis or Dr. Markham for more clarification. But this one was emailed to me. And Tamara couldn't be here today, but Tamara, we got to your question for you. And she says, my question is regarding FVRCP vaccines in feral cats. She has heard that modified live vaccines only require one with no booster. She's asking if this is correct, as she has heard a difference of opinion that there's no point in giving just the one, that someone has said that they are wasting money. Other professionals say it does give some good protection over a short period of time. And she just would like some feedback from either Dr. Nordis or Dr. Markham on how they feel about that.
Yes. Well,
So-
it does.
Go ahead, Dr.
does
Markham.
it does give initial protection, and certainly if we had a choice, we would rather see those feral cats boosted. But one vaccine is certainly better than none. But I'd still like to see a booster, if possible.
Got it. Okay.
But I don't think it's a waste of money if you can only get one vaccine in a feral cat that you're like spaying and neutering and releasing, because a modified live vaccine it's almost like a little bit of a natural, not a natural, but it will make the body mount a most natural immune response to it. A booster would be great, but if you can only get one, I would do it.
Got it. No, thank you so much. And Tamara, we got your question. Yay. And hopefully you're watching this on the replay. But I think that's all the time we have but we'll send the replay out, of course, if you missed any part of the session. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nordis. Thank you, Dr. Markham. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, David. Thank you, folks on the webinar. We're really grateful that we were able to have this conversation, and your knowledge was so helpful. And Mark, is there anything you want to sign off with or anything like that?
No, I just want to encourage people with questions. Like I say, they can use that 800 number. We can get them in contact. We have people in here if there's vet techs that can answer questions. We answer the phone 5 days a week, 8 to 5 Central. We also have a person that carries a phone. If there's some really technical question they have, we have somebody that they can get to 24/7 that has a phone. Then we can reach out to Dr. Nordis or Dr. Markham also. So got lots of support, website support, materials for you to use. We really want to help Shelters United be successful in their efforts with all the.
And I think that's what makes this partnership so special, and why we're so excited about Canine Spectra and Feline Focus is that, David, we're able to support all of you with that 800 number, with the free downloads, with the vaccine records, with support. So please reach out to David or I in the exit survey, and we're happy to get y'all plugged in. And I just want to say thank you for all that you do out there. It's wonderful to be a little part of what you do, and we're happy to support your mission. So thank you, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you in the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Kendra.
much.